My name's Megan Hinton.
Pressurised to send a nude photograph of herself to a boy at school, within a day, Megan Hinton's private image had been circulated across the internet.
It can take days, even weeks, to be removed off of a social media site, so that can have a devastating impact. You know, once something's up there, not only is it out on the wide web, people can save it to their phones, so even when the social media company removes it, it's still in people's possessions.
Social media is largely self-regulating. Platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram and TikTok largely set their own rules and standards, sometimes relying on the platform users themselves to flag up anything inappropriate. The UK government has been consulting since last summer on how to introduce a new online harms law to put the responsibility on social media companies to remove harmful content. Child protection charities certainly support that.
Ultimately, regulation is required. That's what we would argue. The big tech giants need to be held to account. The regulator needs teeth. So they not only need to monitor what's going on and talk about it publicly, but also hold to account these multi-billion-pound platforms.
None of the social media giants were available for interview, preferring to issue written statements. The boss of YouTube UK said to help keep our community safe, we haven't waited for regulation. We've created new technology, hired expert reviewers, worked with external specialists and reviewed our policies to ensure they're fit for the evolving challenges we face online. Facebook's head of public policy said we have clear rules about what is and isn't allowed on our platforms and are investing billions in safety. We look forward to carrying on the discussion with the government, Parliament and the rest of industry as this process continues. The regulation of web content is a complex area which touches on issues such as freedom of speech, censorship and jurisdiction. And there's also the question of defining what is subjectively offensive and what actually qualifies as harmful. But it seems the UK government is prepared to try to tackle the issue, and the full details of the new law will be published later in the spring. Paul Brennan, Al Jazeera, London.
I'm now joined in the studio by data protection expert Tony Vitali. So Ofcom would be potentially in charge of social media regulation. Are they equipped for this job?
Well, it's interesting that the government have chosen Ofcom because they have a long track record of being able to issue fines and penalise companies that break the law. But so far, they haven't had any experience of bringing criminal prosecutions against companies or directors. And if that's part of this new legislation, it's an interesting choice to choose Ofcom rather than, say, the ICO that regulates data breaches.
But that has to change, doesn't it? Special powers will reportedly possibly include, in the most extreme cases, naming and shaming executives of companies, and then also possibly criminal sanctions as well. So that, you know, they will have to have this ability.
Absolutely, and there's nothing that will focus the mind more of directors of US West Coast conglomerates that run Twitter and the other social media sites than the threat that some of their senior directors may actually face personal criminal prosecutions and perhaps even imprisonment.
How difficult is it going to be to differentiate between content that is illegal and then content that is harmful but technically legal?
Well, these companies themselves at the moment already do a little bit of self-policing and self-regulation. I think the important thing to remember is they generate income by algorithms. And if you click on something, whether it's harmful or not harmful, the algorithms expect you to want more of the same. And so algorithms that make them money can actually cause us harm. And that's one of the things that they'll need to go into. They'll need to actually look at the outputs of those algorithms, decide what's harmful and what isn't, and stop the harmful content reaching the user. That's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not easy to define what precisely is harmful. It can be very subjective. How long could this take?
Well, I think we've already have examples. We've got some really, really sad cases, like the case of Molly Russell, where she was looking at self-harm content, and Twitter took some action to remove some of that content. Not all of it, and it's hard to remove because it's user-generated. They need to have teams and teams of people working on this, because what you don't want to do is have a regulatory system that relies on investigations, criminal investigations, but actually you stop this material going online in the first place.
How might technology companies fight this? We know that digital tech is a growing part of the economy, and it's growing very quickly. Might they be less inclined to invest in a country and start new businesses if they think they're going to be strictly regulated?
I think this new proposal from the government should be applauded, and I think it could well set the blueprint for international regime to be set up where these organisations face the same type of regime wherever they operate. And only then, I think, we'll see them really taking it seriously, as I said, plus the potential for criminal sanctions too.
Thank you very much, Tony Vitale. Appreciate it.
Thank you.